We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. For many, it's a playground. For others, it's where we earn our living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant. And when accidents happen, they happen very fast.
The sea is a dangerous place. If you don't respect the sea will bite you.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of nearly 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, to race to our rescue.
It makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, to know that if it wasn't for you, that person wouldn't be here.
They rescued me, but they also saved a mum, a daughter, a sister, a wife.
Oh my God.
To see someone disappear under the water right in front of you is brutal. It's absolutely horrendous.
Equipped with their own cameras,
My light flashing. Yeah, mine.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it.
Right, there's another little wave.
Speeding through the roughest weather, searching for people who may only have moments to live.
Can you still hear me?
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
When those pagers go off, it's life and death.
Lerwick in the Shetland Isles is one of the most remote lifeboat stations in the UK. Just 400 miles south of the Arctic Circle, these islands lie closer to Norway than Aberdeen. The hundreds of islets and inlets are a haven for seabirds and wildlife. But for the lifeboat crew, it can take a lifetime to learn them all. Ian moved to Shetland 18 months ago and is still getting his head round his new area.
This is our patch, and it goes up as far as Muckleflugger, which is the northern part of Unst, the Isle of Unst, which is here. There is some really bizarre names. Fladabista, Longatonga, there's some... I don't even know if I'm pronouncing half of them right. Shetland is part of Scotland, but it doesn't feel like it's Scotland. It's very Scandinavian. It's the names, it's the accents. I sometimes, when some of the crew talk to me, I just agree with them because I don't have a clue what they're saying. We go to an island called Walser, and I might as well be in Japan.
Although one of the remotest parts of the UK, Lerwick's thriving fishing industry attracts workers from all over Scotland. Originally from Orkney, fisherman Darren is one of Lerwick's 28 lifeboat volunteers. Even though he's from Shetland's closest neighbour, the difference in dialects took some getting used to for his fiancée, local lass Gemma.
Got a boy you're with? When me and Darren first met, it was a struggle. I could hardly understand him. But I do know a lot of my family still struggle.
I get told I sound Welsh and that I sing when I speak.
Darren spends up to 2 weeks at a time working on the Ocean Way, one of Shetland's largest trawlers. But when he's not at sea, he's ready to answer the pager's call.
More often than not, the page will go off when I'm in bed.
Did you not go with odd shoes on one time?
Yeah, quite often appear down the station with no socks on.
When Darren gets called out, it makes me nervous. I worry, not knowing what they're going to. My family, a lot of them are fishermen, so you're kind of always aware of what could go wrong.
When Darren does get 2 weeks on shore to spend with Gemma, there's every chance their time off together will be interrupted by the familiar call.
When the pager first went off, I was sound asleep, I was in bed. It was a nice morning, sun was shining, not too much wind. Nice day for a shout, if there's such a thing.
A trawler is in trouble out at sea.
When I was running into the station, one of the guys was running out, and he goes, "It's your boat, it's the Ocean Way." So I ran a little bit faster.
Lerwick crew are armed with the largest class of boat in the fleet. Accelerating to a top speed of 25 knots, they're heading out to the trawler Darren works on, the Ocean Way. 25 miles out at sea, she's taking on water.
I knew exactly who was aboard, my friends, my crewmates. If I'd missed that shout, yeah, I wouldn't have been a very happy boy. We went as fast as we could. Obviously, a boat sinking's never a good thing.
You want to do the best you can to save their boat, it's their livelihoods as well.
I phoned the skipper on the way out just to find out what was happening. He seemed reasonably okay. I mean, he didn't sound panicked or anything like that.
At top speed, the Lerwick crew arrive in under an hour. A Coast Guard search and rescue helicopter and another fishing boat are also on the scene. The Ocean Way is taking on water through a hole below the waterline. She was bringing her fishing gear on board when her hull ruptured. They're having to use their onboard pumps to bail out the water, hoping to stay afloat long enough to get her back to port.
When we first came alongside the Ocean Way, it didn't look like she was anything wrong, really. First we thought, no, she'll make it. She was doing 9 knots.
To help bail out flooded vessels, the lifeboat carries an emergency salvage pump. Their priority is to get it on board to help hold back the water and to assess the damage. Darren is the obvious choice to go.
Darren knew the boat. He knew the boat inside out, so he was going to be one that was going to transfer across with the pump. We got another crewman to go and give him a hand.
It's only really when we got on board and realised the gravity of the situation.
She had a lot of water on board already. There was a bigger hole than what we originally thought.
The pumps weren't working. There was just too much water coming in.
Even with the lifeboat's extra pump helping shift up to 800 litres a minute, the water's still rising. The crew decide to use a further emergency pump carried by the Coast Guard's helicopter. But this means distancing themselves from the Ocean Way while it's winched down to the lifeboat. Back on the fishing boat, they're losing the race against the incoming flood.
Water was coming in the scuppers, which really means that the water's got nowhere to go. It's coming in, but there's nowhere for it to get out. I went up to the skipper and said it's not going to come back. Even if we got another pump, it's not going to come back. This doesn't look good. We're going to have to get everybody off.
Now, nearly a mile away, the lifeboat and Coast Guard helicopter are still transferring the pump when the alarm comes in.
I was getting messages from the fishing boat saying that she's filling up with water. She's filling up with water. We're abandoning ship. Get back here and pick up the crew. We gunned it back to the Ocean Way.
By the time the lifeboat had come alongside, then we were going vertical all the time. I guess you're being thrown at all kinds of angles when you're at sea anyway, but this was very, very different.
The crew get in as close as they can to pick up Darren and the fishermen. But the fishing boat is heading under fast. Get in too close and she could take the lifeboat with her.
Trawl door was at a level where she would have, if we did hit it, it would have punctured us under the waterline, which would have meant then we would have been a second casualty. So we couldn't get right alongside.
For the 5 fishermen and 2 lifeboat volunteers on board, time and options are running out.
The boys standing aside the boat, and within no time at all, the water's around their feet. I had to shout to the boys, jump in the water.
The engine was stopped by that time, so it was kind of eerily silent, other than the sounds of me shouting, jump overboard, jump overboard. If we didn't jump, then we were either going to get sucked in or fall into the rigging or get trapped or something. The skipper and the engineer, they sort of went up forward on the boat to jump from there. When I was too busy, shouting at them to jump, that I didn't notice that the water was almost coming up to me. So it was time I jumped as well.
Desperately trying to avoid being caught in the wreckage and dragged under, 7 men are in the water between the sinking 270-ton trawler and the 42-ton lifeboat.
We were trying to back away as much as we could. With 2 boats so close together, it's the fact that a bit of swell could pick one boat up and push us together. And if we've got guys in the water there, one of them could get crushed.
The skipper, he was kind of struggling a bit, so I swam over to him. For a while, as hard as we were swimming, we couldn't get away from the boat. It felt more like the boat was chasing us. Heart's going like a machine gun. Swimming back as fast as we can and not making any headway at all. It's only your head above water and you're seeing all this steel coming towards you that you have no control over. The best you can hope for is just keep swimming.
Just adrenaline that day was pounding. I mean, everything was happening so fast. I mean, we were just pulling guys out the water to like they were rag dolls near enough. We were just pulling them out. I was bending and doing, picking up 2 guys, and I looked around to see where the boat was going. I was just under the water. It was just happening so fast.
But I think it was pretty shocked to see that happen.
Ever good watching our boat sink. To see that's someone's livelihoods, it's guys' wages, it's an income.
I've never seen a boat sink before. Obviously, it's the boat I work on and a good boat. It's just seen us through a lot of weather. Never thought for 1 minute she'd go down.
As the Ocean Way joins the hundreds of other wrecks that litter the Shetland seabed, her 5 crew members arrive home wet and exhausted, but otherwise unharmed.
The crew were very shaken up.
I think the skipper was a bit more shell-shocked than anybody, but that's quite understandable. I think they were all just happy, relieved. The boat's replaceable. Lives are no.
From the pager's call to launching on service, it takes on average under 10 minutes for a lifeboat to be on the water. The volunteer crews know timing is everything, and any delay can mean the difference between life and death.
Well, they say time and tide waits for no one. I think that's especially important in the RNLI.
Obviously, time is why we do it. The shorter the time, the better chance of survival with most casualties.
Every second is precious, especially, say, if you had someone in the water, that time, you have minutes.
Time critical shouts you feel that time is chasing you. So I've never had the time run out. It's come close on a couple of occasions, and you think 5-10 minutes more and that would have been a completely different story.
I have lost count of the number of people I have pulled out of the water. But I do remember those relatively few cases where we were too late.
To see someone disappear under the water right in front of you, where 3-4 seconds earlier you probably could have effected a rescue, is brutal. It's absolutely horrendous, and there's nothing you can do about it. You beat yourself up, but there's nothing you can do. So, yeah, very much our goal to get there in good time.
When it comes to traditional British seaside fun, it doesn't get much better than here at Weston-super-Mare. Since Victorian times, any sunny summer's day sees the population explode with day trippers.
The coastline is a bit weird because the tide goes out a long way, but it's great, you know, we've got long beaches, lots of mud, islands. I love it around here.
I think everybody loves to go to a seaside, and if the tide's not there, they'll walk out however far it is, so just so they can have a little paddle. But unfortunately, some people get caught out that way.
At the mouth of the Severn estuary, Weston is sheltered from the worst of the weather coming in from the Atlantic. But its position here creates other dangers. As the sea is funneled up the narrow Bristol Channel, it pours in across Weston's gently shelving foreshore, creating one of the fastest flowing tides in the world. For the crew stationed here, it means most shouts are a race to beat it.
The biggest danger is the speed that the tide comes in. I mean, I remember being told this as a kid, you can't outrun the tide. What a ridiculous thing to say. You can't outrun the tide. I mean, of course you can outrun the tide, it's just the water, it's just the sea. In Weston, you cannot outrun the tide. Mother Nature, she's just incredible. And the way you can see it so clearly in Weston, it's like the sea is just coming out of a hose. And so it will knock you off your feet, it will be relentless. It just doesn't stop. You can't outrun the tide.
Weston's first lifeboat station now lies abandoned at the end of the derelict Burnbeck Pier. Once a popular tourist promenade, the pier is now a trap for those unwary, unwise, or unlucky enough to be caught out by the tide. Under the rotting boards, the Bristol Channel is forced even faster through the gap under the pier.
The dangers of swimming and playing around Burnbeck Island is that when a tide's coming in or going out, it can run up to 5 to 6 knots around that area. It's a very fast-moving body of water there, and it can take you away very quickly.
The dangers of those waters were brought home a few years ago.
2 young lads have gone swimming. They got into difficulties, got swept away with the current.
We could hear them when we were running across the pier to get to the boats.
And we could hear them crying for help.
When we launched and literally went out half a mile into the bay, switched off the engines and shouted, and never heard a soul.
The cries are gone. Sadly, we couldn't find them. The water's that silty. Once something or somebody goes below the surface a couple of inches, we just can't see them.
They're drowned, unfortunately. Every second can count the sake of a life. We were literally a minute, 2 minutes away from saving 2 lives, which unfortunately we didn't.
Another summer season at Weston. The crowds have arrived along with the sunshine. Cries for help have again been heard from under Burnbeck Pier. 2 people have been caught by the fast-rising water. The crew begin their race against the tide.
When I hear about people in the water in Burnbeck Pier, I think we have got to get there like 5 minutes ago.
Definitely a sense of emergency to get out there. The tide was on the flood, so I know it started moving, and then I know it was only going to get faster and faster for the next 2 hours, so time was at the essence then. The main concern for the casualty is, are they still there? Are they still holding on to their legs?
When you've got that force of water coming onto you, cold water, how long do you cling on for? How long do you keep your head above the water?
As they approach the pier, the crew spot 2 figures. They're standing on horizontal struts on the metal legs. Either side of them, the channel is already several feet deep and flowing fast.
As we got closer and closer, I was just looking at how fast that water was going, and they were in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. They are 5 minutes away from not being able to stand on anything.
Guys, the tide is coming this way. We're going to go past and come back to you, OK?
trying to get the boat in position for the rescue. The way the water was, there's a real risk that the boat could have been sucked into that pier, and if that had happened, then we're all over the side, and you know, that's not a place to be.
Move to this side, Terry, or the other side. Not this side, yeah?
Helmsman Terry has to approach against the tide and hold the boat steady with the power of the engine. So close to the safety of the boat, the stranded couple is still only one step from danger.
Main concern was they didn't panic or anything when they seen the boat coming.
The worst thing that they could do was start moving around on the structure.
So come round in front.
Or even, you know, jump into the water. That, you know, we don't want people to do that.
Some people jump in the water and they don't come back up.
Hold on here. Just stay there, mate. Don't jump in yet. Stay there. Make sure you hold on. Don't worry, we'll come to you. Stay there.
They really had started to panic, and you know, I remember even though we were telling them stay where you are, stay where you are, they couldn't hear us, they weren't listening.
Don't worry, so I'll make a bridge for you. Where? Yeah, there you go, they got us. Reach your hand.
I suppose for me, I realised just how scared they were then.
Reach your hand. Onto the knot. Come on, mate. Come on, mate. Come on, I've got to strong on it. Go on. Drill him. Come on. Feet must be killing. Yeah.
It was a remarkably quick rescue. You know, it was textbook.
It was so calm. Stand from there and then, whoa.
Does that happen a lot, or is it just a...
It happens every now and again. All out 5 years ago. Yeah. The tide was going out at the time, and one of them was swimming across, and one of them was found asleep, and one was found in Wales over there.
Today, time was on the side of the lifeboat crew, and 2 more lives have been saved from the western tides.
I think they definitely realised how lucky they had been.
You're right, yeah?
I'm fine, yeah. I'm just really happy to be on a boat.
The amount of water that was running through that pier, if they'd let go, they would have got swept away. 10 minutes longer could have been a different story.
You know, 10 minutes later, you know, that's one traffic jam on the way to the lifeboat station. That's all that is. They're incredibly lucky that day.
Nice one,
You know, there's a good feeling about the station when that happens. There's a, you know, you kind of linger. you don't want to go home. You know, you want to stay with the guys, and you want to be kind of together and let's have another cup of tea. We'll have another cup of tea, shall we? Before we go home. Yeah, we'll do that. And it was one of those days. It was a good day.
In the northeast, Hartlepool was once a fishing village. There's been a lifeboat stationed here for over 150 years. To keep it going, they're always on the lookout for new recruits.
Right, so when you use that bearing, would you take the bearing out and write it down?
18-year-old Kyle has recently signed up as a volunteer.
Before I started the lifeboat, I had no experience at sea. I maybe been on a boat once or twice on holiday and things like that.
Steve's in Norfolk, so if you click on head up.
At the minute, I've got everything to learn, I suppose.
That'll tell us how close we're going to get.
It's very hard with, say, navigation, things like that.
The odd change to the same layout as Steve.
It's crazy how much there is to learn.
Keep off the green. It's usually a good way of putting it. Yeah. If it's green, we don't want to go there.
I think I can cope quite well under pressure, but I don't know how I'd be able to deal with something if I seen something tragic. I don't know how I'd be able to deal with that. I don't think. I'm quite sensitive, I think.
A few hundred metres up the coast from the lifeboat station, a dinghy has capsized. The 2 men are stranded on the upturned hull. One of the first to get kitted up with helmet camera running is Kyle, hoping to get picked for his first ever shout.
Right, thank you. I hadn't actually been in a shout yet before that one, so I was very keen on the way to get on there. But I was a bit disappointed because I didn't think I was going to get on.
When we were getting ready for the shout, there were a couple of new lads already kitted up. Kyle was one of them. I literally got 2 seconds of looking at him saying, "Yeah, Kyle, grab a life jacket and helmet, you're coming."
I just thought I wasn't going to be going, so I panicked a bit.
Just after they launch, an urgent update comes in from the Coast Guard. The 2 men are now off the boat. One has managed to swim to shore and safety. The other is struggling in the water.
When you hear a message like that, it always pricks your ears up, so to speak, and you suddenly realise this is serious. We've got to get there quickly.
With sea temperatures under 10 degrees, survival time in the water could be as little as 15 minutes. At the scene, just meters away, passers-by on shore are powerless to help the drowning man. A passing boat has managed to get a lifeline to the casualty, but under the barrage of waves, their engine cuts out. For their own safety, they have to pull back. The man's life is now in the hands of the Hartlepool crew. Novice Kyle's first ever shout is a race to get to him before he succumbs to the sea.
People in the water, you tend not to take your new crew. Certain jobs you can't afford to have anybody dilly-dally around. So you've got to be paying slightly more attention to the new guy on the back.
One individual goes to the rock, maybe another life jacket attached to the boat. That's all I can see from here, over.
Up ahead, they spot the casualty motionless in the water. He's just feet away from being dashed onto the rocky shore.
So is that someone there? On your bow there?
I'll come back. Go ahead, over.
Right, we get it.
He wasn't moving.
Oh my God.
I was definitely panicked when I seen him in the water and I seen he didn't seem responsive.
I did have the thought that we've lost him, it's too late.
Put him down. Move back. Move back, move back, move back.
Your heart kind of sinks at that moment because you've got there as quickly as you possibly can. You've done everything you possibly can to this point.
What are you doing?
So it was quite a deflating moment, really.
Struggling to get the casualty on board, the crew realise he's tangled in the lifeline.
Throw a line on him. When the knife break.
I had to cut the line straight away because otherwise we wouldn't be able to pull him out. I did sort of prepare myself for what we're going to do when we pulled him out. I thought he was dead, I suppose.
Kyle. Yeah.
He looked dead to me.
Right, mate.
So it was very scary for a couple of minutes.
What did you take?
But when we'd actually managed to get him over and get on the floor, he made a couple of noises. That was the big relief for me when I heard him make a noise.
Right, let's get some oxygen on him. Straight down. Do you want to get the oxygen? Yeah. All right, buddy. Yeah,
the casualty is showing signs of life. The crew need to get him to medical attention fast.
Keep with us, big lad.
The two men are cousins. They were testing repairs to the engine when they were picked up by a wave and rolled over. The casualty, Richard, stayed with the upturned boat, while Jamie managed to swim to shore.
That's all right, matey. We're on our way back now.
I didn't get really much chance to think about what was happening at the time. It just went that fast in a split second.
Yeah, all right, you with us?
We were upside down and slammed into the water, capsized. What was instantly freezing, I knew straight away that we weren't going to last long out there.
So you keep breathing, mate.
Richard was really in a state of panic and shock at the time. I wanted to get him onto the boat as quickly as possible, get him into a safe place.
So you keep breathing, big lad.
He was panicking, trying to keep hold of the boat. The waves were coming, knocking us both off, and then I was having to get off, swim about, get him onto the boat. Absolutely massive waves spraying off my back. Once I got Richard secured to the boat, the thoughts started going on to myself then, bobbing about in the water, realising that my core temperature was going to be vastly dropping. Thoughts of my children going through me and my grandchildren. I'm pretty much the centre of the family. I have two deaf sons, one on the autistic spectrum, and I've got to provide for them, really. Life basically flashed before my eyes, and I decided I was going to swim for it.
Nearly there now, buddy. Nearly there.
I told him just to keep hold of the boat, do not let go of the boat, and it would be pretty safe and help was on the way. And I knew I just had to get to swimming and try and get back to my wife and kids. Really, really hard. One of the worst decisions I've had to make in my life.
Here we go, buddy.
It was a really hard thing to do.
Richard, all right, mate. I know you're cold. We're going to try and get you off the boat, all right? On the big one.
It was after Jamie swam for shore, believing he had left his cousin secure on the boat, that waves swept Richard into the sea.
You got the paramedics here. Right,
Once Jamie left us, I tried keeping my eyes on him to watch him go in towards the rocks, but he went over 2 waves and I lost sight of him. It was like everything had gone. It was just me. It was just me against the sea. I just felt like I wasn't going to make it at that point. I think my body shut down. I don't even remember getting pulled aboard. Apparently I was on both of the lifeboats that day. I can't remember. I've always liked living, but I like it a bit more now.
I've been thinking about what could have happened, and I don't think Richard would have made it at all. I don't know where I'd have been able to put myself. I don't know where I'd be now. I wouldn't be in a very good place without him.
Just 10 minutes after launching, the crew hand over a recovering Richard to the ambulance team.
That was a good first one. That your first one? Yeah.
For Kyle, it's a shout he will never forget.
Cheers, mate. Where does this go back on at? That day was great to help save someone. I suppose if we weren't there, I don't know how much longer we would have had. On the way back, after we went out for the vote and came back in, I thought, how do people do this on a day-to-day basis? This type of pressure, but after it was great. Yeah, this is ours.
Kyle did brilliantly. He didn't flap, he coped well with the pressure.
Is this the paramedics?
Some crew members might wait months or even years to get a call out where they actually make a difference like this. And for Kyle to get this as his first call out, I think it's absolutely fantastic how well he did.
Back in his day job, Kyle is a trainee accountant, and his biggest deadline is the end of the tax year. Kyle's joined an army of almost 5,000 volunteers, from butchers to bakers and furniture makers willing to don the familiar yellow suit and transform themselves into lifesavers.
When the pager goes off, it flicks a switch. I'm a different person to the person I am when I'm on the shore.
You leave your everyday life at home or at work or whatever, and you head to do what you have to do. You're a man on a mission, or a man on a rescue mission, whatever way you want to look at it.
Somebody's absolutely helpless and you're there to help them. Not like a superhero, I wouldn't say, but you feel like a hero for a split second, I suppose.
My name's Jeff, and we're here to take you home, all right?
Once you get back to the station, you realise, oh, I actually helped somebody there, you know?
And you are proud, you walk and your head's a little bit higher, your chest's a little bit more puffed out than it maybe normally is, and you're walking past people who maybe look at you and think, what's he been up to? Why is he so proud of himself?
And then you wander off back to the car and go back to your painting or your office work or whatever you were doing before the pager went on, and life then goes back to normal.
Stretching back 200 years, switching from the day job to saviour of the high seas in seconds has been a way of life for the crews. Dick Evans was a butcher who became one of the most decorated lifeboat coxswains. Dick was awarded 2 gold medals, the RNLI's Victoria Cross, for his part in 2 daring rescues in hurricane-force winds. In 1959, his crew saved 8 seamen from the sinking ship Hindley, 8 years later, he helped rescue the crew of stricken Greek vessel Nafsiporus. Today, keeping watch over the wild patch from which he helped rescue so many, Dick's statue stands alongside his station Mulvra on the Isle of Anglesey. In Welsh, the name Mulvra means barren hill, and the coastline here definitely lives up to its name. Exposed, wind-swept cliff tops rise from a shoreline of inaccessible rocks below.
We cover from Puffin Island here to the east of Anglesey, right the way around the coast to the north, then round Point Linus. It's quite an exposed, dangerous stretch of coastline, really. Sharp, jagged rocks, but then also it's exposed to the point where it's very deep water, so you get tidal surges, it's short, choppy seas that can catch people out. We see a vast range of kind of rescues and rescue situations. It's always good to be challenged, and the area that we work in is a constant challenge for various reasons, the wind, the tide, the weather, but without a challenge it'd be a boring job, really.
When the pagers go off at dusk on a blustery winter's day, the crew are on high alert.
It was a cold evening, it was dark, and normally in the winter when we have a shout, you know it's going to be something serious.
Instantly you think, time of year, what could it be, where is it? And February time, there's not a great deal of leisure traffic out there. There's not a great deal of fishing going on that time of year. So it's an unknown. I could see the discussions that were going on and I knew it wasn't a usual rescue.
Let's have a brief down there before we go, guys.
The crew have been called to a faller from one of the steepest parts of the coastal path.
Nav lights when you're ready, Rob, yeah? Everybody ready? Happy?
All they know is that it's a 3-year-old female. She's called Flossie.
Stop!
And she's a Bichon Frise.
I've got my own dog, so I would hate to see a dog hurt or injured. So, yeah, we wanted to get the dog out.
Boy! Your speed down to about 18 knots, yeah? 18, 20 knots!
The adrenaline goes off no matter what the shout is, because things aren't predictable at sea. We knew the dog was in Porthwen, which is a disused brickworks to the north of the island, quite an exposed, treacherous bit of coast. A nasty little bay, there's lots of big outcrops of rocks and reefs, but it was also falling light as well. The cliff team weren't going to attempt a rescue because it was quite a difficult stretch of cliffs. So we were the only way that dog was getting out.
The eastern side of Bay, to be very friendly.
What was it called? Lassie. Just confirm a lassie, over.
Yeah, Flossie, very friendly.
Hey, Roger, many thanks.
Flossie's not the crew's only concern. When called to dogs in trouble, it can be their owners who end up in most danger.
It's always in your mind, where are the owners, what are they going to do? Are we going to have to then rescue them if they're going to try and do something silly?
Okay, guys, just watch this corner here now, Mike. Okay?
Flossie's frantic family are up on the cliff edge, over which she disappeared while out on an evening walk.
Looking over and seeing how far down the cliff went and not seeing her initially, I must confess I thought that we'd lost her.
Big lump of rocks here, Mike, so come further on to starboard.
Yeah, okay. We looked down and we could actually see her at the bottom of this 40-metre cliff. To me, it was like having a child go over. It was incredibly, incredibly stressful. It really did feel like it was part of the family that was in danger. My first thought was, is there a way for me to get down to her, after realising there wasn't a way for her to get back up to us?
Come round to port, mate, yeah? Yeah, okay.
I didn't even give any thought to my own safety. But it was my partner, she said, no, we can't, there's no way of getting her down there. Stay here, she'll go and get help. That prevented me from trying to get down the cliff.
Okay, go switch the engine off. Yeah, engine off the rock.
40 metres below, the crew reach shore. Now they need to find the casualty.
You all right if I go up there, Mike?
Yes, mate, yeah.
Vince takes the lead.
The dog had fallen about 40-odd metres, which is about 4 double-deckers worth in height. So it had fallen a good way.
Coast Guard lights from the cliff top guide Vince in. Suddenly, he spots movement.
We could see the dog sat on a ledge, probably 10 or 15 foot up from the beach, but it was quiet. It was kind of making me think, yeah, the dog's injured or the dog's hurt itself.
Hello, dog. Hello, doggy. There we are. Hey, hey, hey.
And you're always told, always approach a scared dog. You know, don't put your hand out, kind of don't look at it directly, turn your back to it.
Give me a bit of backlight.
That dog doesn't know you, I don't know it, I don't know its temperament, but I'm wearing a big yellow and black dry suit with high vis, and I've got a helmet on, I've got gloves on. It probably thinks it's an alien coming to rescue it, not a lifeboatman or a human.
Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Shh, shh, shh. Hey. 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 Okay, visor's down.
Because it was higher than us, so we had to kind of scramble up towards it, and the last thing I wanted was a little angry Bichon Frise lunging towards us. So it was a case of visors down, get the bag ready, get your gloves on, and just prepare.
There we are. All right.
Anybody that's scared isn't going to behave or act like they normally would. Tried talking to it, but that's when I knew that there was going to be no way of convincing this dog to come towards us. It wasn't going to come nicely, and it was trying to tell me who was boss. It was a case of kind of doing the old ninja and taking my chance when it turned away. I wasn't going to hang around on the bottom of a cliff being told what to do by a Bichon Frise.
Okay, Derek, we've got the dog. Just got to watch out now that he doesn't make a runner. It's quite comfy in here. I'm going to have to try and secure this bag a bit better, guys. Hello, Floppy. Whatever you call. Don't tip that bag. Well, just to confirm, we've got the dog in a bag here, safe and well. Quite the opposite to friendly, but it probably had something to do with the face of the two we sent ashore. But the dog is secure anyway. We'll meet you in Bull Bay. Those eyes are as if they want to eat me.
Kept talking to Flossie in the bag, kept popping her head down and making sure she was okay.
There we are, dog. Watch your fingers.
Gave off the odd growl to remind us that she wasn't happy, but I think she knew that she was safe and she was with humans again.
How are we doing? Not so bad. Friendly, Matt. Hello. Friendly.
After her ordeal, a shaken but much happier Flossie is reunited with her family.
Thank you, Matt. There we go. Come on, dog. There we go. There we go, Flossie. Friendly little thing.
Once we let the dog out of the bag, it was fine. It was like a completely different dog.
A bit friendlier now.
She's not so friendly when you got her. She's not really friendly.
Just scared. Hello, dog. Oh, there we are.
She didn't bite you or anything, did she?
Well, no.
I felt terrible for him, and Claire, my partner, she was like, but that's not Flossie. But, you know, how would we react in a situation that was completely foreign to us and that stressful?
It might have just been the face, Derek. Do you know what I mean?
If the RNLI hadn't come out, I do genuinely think that I would have been foolhardy enough to have actually tried to get down there. There was no way on earth that we would have left her down there. I didn't know what to say to them because I was just so thankful for everything they had done.
Clear Coast Guard, Mobile B, that's us back on slip and closing down.
Another life saved for the Mulvra crew. Tonight, the only casualty was Vince.
Bichon Frise bit me. Oh.
The fishing town of Bridlington has had its own lifeboat since 1802. For the last 114 years, it's lived here just off the high street, a few hundred metres from the beach.
The Bridlington lifeboat is kept in what looks like a very big garage. Whenever it has to go to sea, it has to make the first part of the journey by road. Cars and buses stop to let the lifeboat through.
Our station, it's a bit unique, which is sadly going to come to an end. Well, not sadly, because we're getting a nice new shiny boathouse, but going to be sort of end of an era that we're not going to be going down a main road before we actually get the boat in the water. I won't miss it, you know, health and safety nightmare.
It's not the only health and safety nightmare on their patch. Flamborough Head, created by thousands of years of coastal erosion, is notorious for its unpredictable tide and currents.
We'll just put an iron end of that so it'll fit over that timber head.
No one knows the risks around here better than fisherman and Bridlington crew member Steve. His family have been fishing these waters for 300 years.
I would say the sea is in your blood. If you're from the type of family that has had generations and generations of men going to sea, every one of them will tell you that the sea is in their blood. For myself, coming from my background, the way that I perform at sea, the way that I think about the weather or the tide or the wind, most of that is coming from my basic instinct of what I've picked up over the last 50 years. The tides are a huge factor around Flamborough Head because Flamborough Head sticks out into the sea and disrupts the tidal flow. The tide can at any one time be running in several different directions. For anybody that doesn't know the area, they can soon find themselves being from in calm water to in very serious conditions. They can soon find themselves in a seriously dangerous predicament.
When the Bridlington crew's pagers go off, they're prepared for anything. But when they're called out to help another lifeboat crew, they know it's serious.
It's quite unusual for us to be called to something that another lifeboat's already dealing with. It was going through my head. What's gone wrong? What could be happening?
3 kayakers have got into trouble off the notorious Flamborough Head. Flamborough's own lifeboat has rescued 2 of them. The 3rd is still missing. The Bridlington boat has been called out to help in this search.
I wanted to get going pretty quick because I knew we were going to run out of daylight.
It's been almost an hour since the 62-year-old kayaker was last seen. The tide's going out, and there are only a few hours of daylight left.
When we cleared Flamborough Head, we started to encounter much larger waves. It turned from flat calm conditions into quite serious conditions within a very short distance.
Considering the conditions that we were experiencing on the lifeboat, we knew the kayaker was going to be struggling. He was going to be in the water, you know, waves were going to be splashing over him.
Missing kayaker in bad weather, you could be looking for a fatality. You might not even find them.
Oh, here, right.
There's no sign of the kayaker near his last known position. The crew must decide their next move.
It was not a simple task. Nobody was really sure where this guy might be.
Myself and Steve had a chat, came up with a plan of what we were going to do.
And I said, I think we should follow a track with the tide to the north, because that's where I believe that he might have gone. He won't have been able to get out of the ebb tide because it's that strong. He won't have been able to paddle against it or swim against it. We set off on our search in a northwesterly course. We were leaving the initial search scene by about 2.5 miles.
Using Steve's nautical intuition, the Coast Guard and crew extend the original search zone.
We know as the job gets longer, then there's less chance, you know, finding him. You're sort of wishing yourself, you know, come on, let's find him, let's find him. Where are you? Where are you?
We were following the tidal stream down the coast, and it just wasn't appearing. You kept thinking, you're thinking, oh, it'll be here soon, and it just wasn't.
After over an hour searching, there's still no sign of the kayaker. If Steve's hunch hasn't paid off, he may never be found. The crew must decide either to push on or turn back.
My instinct's telling me, keep going, keep going, keep going. Eventually, we saw a white object. We thought, yeah, there he is, yeah, we found him. And we made full speed towards it. We were on a little bit of a high. Called it into the Coast Guards that we'd seen something. We were pretty positive until we arrived at the kayak. The kayak was upside down. No sign of a person.
And then when we got there and he wasn't with it, he went from this massive high to this massive low. We kind of knew that he'd been with the kayak and holding on to it, and when you start getting cold, you lose your grip, and probably just got to the point where he couldn't hold on anymore. The elements got the better of him, and he physically couldn't.
Worst case scenario is, yes, that he's drowned. We're not going to find anybody.
Has it gone from looking for, a person to, are we going to be recovering a body here, But we were straight back on it, because time was ticking on. I asked for fire lifeboat to be launched as well. Let's start chucking stuff at this now. We just need to find him.
5 miles up the coast, another lifeboat is launched in the hunt for the kayaker.
I've never been involved in a search as big as that before, what escalated so quickly. The Coast Guard were on the cliff top searching with binoculars.
The pressure built immensely at that time.
It's now become a major search operation with 3 lifeboats, over 15 crew and several Coast Guard rescue teams on shore, all searching for the missing kayaker.
It's very difficult to spot a person in the water. You're looking for just their head, really.
Right helmet. Your eyes are straining a lot. You see a bit of debris floating, it's a person. You see a bird sat there, it's a person. And you've got to sort of shake your head a bit and think, no, remember your training, that's not what a person looks like in the water.
As the light begins to fade, the Coast Guard radio with an update.
Somebody on the cliff top called the Coast Guards and said they can see something white just 1/4 mile inside of where we were. That gave us a bit of hope. We couldn't see it from where we were. The weather was too bad.
At this stage, every possible sighting is followed up. The Bridlington and Flamborough lifeboats speed to where the white object has been seen.
You're wishing, let's hope it's him, let's hope it's him.
Just spotted this little person. His hand was sticking up in the air, and it was just like, oh my God, he's there. We found him.
What's he like? Put him in the wall! Put him in the wall!
We got alongside him. It was me and another lad grabbed him, pulled him aboard, and he was quite in a bad way.
It was the first time I'd seen someone look that bad, and he wasn't far off slipping away, I don't think. Pick him up then and let's have him off. Is he on oxygen still? Yeah, he's on oxygen.
Exhausted and suffering the effects of hypothermia, the missing kayaker, Robbie, is transferred to Bridlington's bigger lifeboat to warm him up in the wheelhouse and where he can be assessed by a paramedic.
Right, come on, buddy, let's have your body, yeah? Up with it.
We could see he was in a sort of life-threatening situation.
After a casualty's been in the water so long, even though you pull them out alive, you're still a little bit dubious about what he's been through while he's been in the water. Is he at a point where he needs CPR? Is he too far gone? You just have to get the casualty on board and assess him and do what you can at that time.
Keep that safe. I don't think he needs it anymore, but if he does. And when we found that, I thought it'd be an all-night job once we got that empty. I did, yeah. But he must have been able to see us, and it must be the worst feeling in the world, watching us go across there.
After 20 minutes warming up, Robbie has recovered enough to be transferred to hospital via the smaller lifeboat and ambulance waiting on shore.
When I saw him come aboard, it was a guy that looked like he was, fighting for his life.
How are you feeling now, mate? You're looking a lot better. Well,
When he came out the wheelhouse, he was chatting with the crew. You know, he was a totally different person. Not out the woods, he still needed to go to hospital, but he could walk off, you know, our lifeboat.
The captain of the rib, he says, I think the first thing he says was, "Who's the lucky boy?"
Robbie's ordeal began after he was separated from his friend and tried to paddle to the safety of shore alone.
And a big, massive wave lifted me and just rolled me over.
Don't take it back, it's an heavy lump, that.
That was it, I was out of the boat, and that's when reality hit.
Good luck, fella, anyway. Cheers.
I just held onto the boat, and then I started being sick. That kind of made me a bit dizzy, and every time I was sick, then I could have quite easily let the boat go. And I knew that I shouldn't do that, but eventually I was left with no boat.
Good job. Good job all around that.
Yeah. Very lucky guy.
Pardon?
Very lucky guy.
There's no denying how lucky I was, but I might have died that day.
I certainly think we can put that down to a life saved. He's going home to his, you know, his family tonight, and he could have quite easily not been. So yeah, it was a good feeling.
We were at 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Time and tide may wait for no one, but that day Steve helped beat them both.
A lot of what we did that day was, you know, down to Steve and his knowledge. Yeah, he was invaluable that day. Don't tell him.
When people ask you, why do you want to be a lifeboatman? Why do you do it? It's part of it's for moments like that when you know that you have made a difference, when you know that you have saved a life.
After helping rescue his fellow fishermen from the sinking trawler, Darren is still coming to terms with the loss of the Ocean Way.
It was a good few days before it really sank in, pardon the pun. Yeah, it really hit home then, just, well, how bad it could have been, I guess. At the moment, I'm not looking for a permanent job. I'm happy just to take it easy, and as long as the bills are paid and we still get married, I'm happy.
And Flossie has bounced back from her 40-metre cliff-top fall.
I was incredibly surprised that Flossie had no apparent injuries on her at all. She just was muddy, and that was as, you know, for her point of view, she just seemed as if she'd been out for a nice long walk over a field. She just seemed to be completely herself and as if nothing had happened.
You can't really get it wrong. You can't take your time. You just need to get there and get the job done.
Somebody that's been out for 17 hours isn't going to be good.
You're hoping for the best, but thinking about, you know, the worst.